thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this great program. It's an honor for me, but I don't want to make too many words about myself. I'm happy that you are all here. We will have interesting discussions tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Today's topic is Women in Focus, Democracy, Civil Society. We have 5 strong women here from all different, we had a first strong woman already who opened this program, so 4 on the stage, and the 5th is sitting over there, and many more there. So it's my honor to be the moderator of this session. So maybe I might ask Her Excellency Anka Feldhusen to introduce herself a little bit and to elaborate on this topic of democracy, civil society, and especially the role of women in focus.
Yes, once again, hello, good afternoon. You're probably all too young to know that I have been in Ukraine for the 3rd time. I came here in '94, worked here as the youngest diplomat then at the embassy as press secretary until '97, and came back in 2010 to stay here through the Revolution of Dignity until 2015, and was very surprised when the ministry decided to send me back this summer as ambassador to Ukraine. That is very short on my background. It's a kind of, I don't know how to say it, it's more fate that sends a diplomat for the 3rd time into the same country. That almost never, ever happens. For me, the biggest advantage is I know your country well, but it still continues to surprise me. What has not surprised me ever, I think, was actually the role of women in this country. Yeah, I think women are the strong part of this country, and I have met so many of these since '94, and a few of them, we had our Christmas party last night at the embassy, and I met people again whom I have known for 25 years, and 2/3 of them women who have worked in the embassy in projects. And I'm happy to call them more than colleagues. I'm happy to call them friends. One of them is also sitting next to me. So this is a fantastic place today to wrap up kind of the first years of my life here. As to women in focus, I'm sure that Masha and the others will say more on that, because I think we have all been on the 3rd Ukrainian Women's Congress this week, which was an inspiring congress, I have to say. We had a very lively panel discussion on international experiences in this sector. And I saw the discussion of the young girls, which was also really great, that Olga moderated. So this is a good week, and let me perhaps finish with one little anecdote. It's a good week to promote women in focus. You know that the parliament and government have so many more women now in Ukraine, which is really great to see. But there's one institution that has surprisingly few women, and that is the presidential administration. And we had a meeting yesterday there with the head of the administration as the G7 ambassadors, the day before yesterday. And we made it a point to tell them, wonderful, we have great discussions, but there's almost never a woman. They're all men. And they looked, you're probably right. And we said, yeah, perhaps you can change that in the next years that you are here. I think I'll leave it at that to start with it, and we'll come back to other more detailed questions, I guess.
Great, yeah, thank you very much. Then maybe we have some politician here as well who might introduce herself a little bit and elaborate on this topic a little bit. More women in politics in Ukraine. I also read that. I recently wrote a gender study actually, and I was very happy to hear that, but not so many in the presidential. What is your feeling about that? How to improve that? What do you think?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. And of course, first of all, I'm honored to be invited by Barbara to this event, and thank you so much. As really the best investments, it's education and it's investments to our youth. And we also have discussed it during our 3rd Women's Congress. But to introduce myself and to say that I would like to welcome you in my a native district, because I was living here more than 25 years on Buchma Street. So I'm really happy to have this opportunity to visit my native district, and to say that after graduating university, I worked in Volvo Truck Corporation in different businesses. And then, such by accident, in 2003, I worked in Mr. Yushchenko's office, and then we had the Orange Revolution, then administration of president, then I became a prime minister of my family, I became mom, then I came back to education, then I went to Kyiv City Council and with Vitaly Klitschko, and first time also in the history of City Council we had 15% of women in our faction, and we were in a position that time. So I would like to say that when we started to work on a national level, and we won elections, and we were in the parliament in 2012, we had also almost in our faction, almost 20% of women. And I can tell you that even in our progressive party on that time, Udar, we saw, when women are very active, but we saw how men again, they would like us to push. Because every time when we saw injustice, or in Kyiv Council, or in Verkhovna Rada, first who was stand and go and demand? Women. And only men again, there, okay, we go with them. So that was really very interesting. But then I understood that really a very strong position and united position could achieve the goals. And I can tell you I'm still in contact with all these women, Anya Starastenko, for example, in Kyiv City Council, more of them. And we are strong because we are still cooperate, the strong networking, and I can tell you that I'm more strong because I felt support of Anka during all that years. Now I'm feeling support of Olga all these years that the third Women Ukrainian Congress became true. And I can tell you that's not my personal victory. It's absolutely our common victory. And even we are achieving any result, I can't say that it was me. No. We are always saying that it's we. And it's about partnership. It's about that values and principles which we are share with each other. That is why to be a third time, now we named as an old politicians, but I am not agree with this phrase. I'm not old, and I will not be old when even I will be more years. So that is why I can say that I'm proud what I have done all these years. I'm proud what we have done together all these years, because now we have 20% women in the parliament, and it's our common achievement. We have more women in the government, it's our common achievement. We have an administration of president too, but that's from our team, these girls. And we are okay that they are working now with the new president, because it's about our country. It's not about personality, the president. It's an institution. It's about institutions. And that is why that idea of our caucus in the parliament starting from 2011, even in a position, we were trying to gather together women and men, not only women, all together, and we were focusing on our priority list, what we can achieve together. That is why we were first who in the parliament we provided the legislation of not maternity, but vacation, parental leave for fathers, because they also can stay at home with the child. And also what I can say that, of course, we're still fighting with the stereotypes. We still, fight in a good way, but with some traditional rules. And all we are talking about, it's about human rights. It's about, because equal opportunities, it's not about gender, it's about human. And that is why if we see this injustice, we have to solve it, unfortunately, still through some legislative initiatives. And when we are talking about democracy, for you, what is democracy? It's a rule of law, it's justice, it's a freedom, it's human rights, and that is why it's also about gender equality. And I would like to say that we succeed for legislation or local election. I can't say that we have been succeed for 100% because we provided quotas for local election, but we didn't provide sanctions. So that is why we worked on electoral code, and I also hope that for parliamentary election, this 40% of quotas, it is now in the text, but again, what about advocacy? So we are still fighting on advocacy, on sanctions, on formulas, because it's about mathematics. If women is leaving the list, it should be replaced by women. Sorry, okay, not women, one gender. So, regarding economy issues, I can say that we also have been working on legislative initiatives, for example, state enterprises. Do you know how many women in state enterprises in the boards? Probably like 3%. So we would like also to have at least 30% of one gender in such boards. It's also, it was really very interesting discussion, and sometimes anyway we are repeating some topics on our Congress, but it's because this problem is still not solved. That is why I also think that we have to name a problem as it is, because terminology is really very important. When it is Russian aggression, it's not a conflict. When we have not so many women in the parliament, it's about this. When we are talking about sexism, we have to start to talk about this. When we have sexual harassment, we have to talk about this, because it's also, I can say that it's not only problem of women or men, but unfortunately the statistics says that women we have more statistics and violation according to women, not the men, yes? And also I can say that we are in the parliament trying to work on ethnic code, because it's, for example, last 2 months, we had so many scandals on some violation, sexual and harassment, even not sexual, but, personal. Not only in the parliament, but also in the government. We have to react. And it doesn't matter for me, or it's a member of the parliament from my faction, or another faction. So all we together are fighting with the values and principles, and we have to say the truth about such accidents, or then there is no need in such equal opportunity caucus. On economic issue, I can tell you that we are really in favor of gender budgeting. On the state level, now we have very successful examples on the regional level, because our international partners really help us to provide, to teach, to educate. And about decentralization reform, I can tell you when we have been started this reform from 2015. And at the very beginning, as you know, on the regional, on the local level, there is more women in councils and in administration. But why it was? Because there was no financing. That was really very hard issues and no finance. When we started this decentralization reform, more financial resources to the region. And then men like, oh, wow, money. Then we would like to be the heads of the joint communities, and after 2 years, the heads of joint communities, for example, women representation, decreased. So now we are looking how, together with the government, how to make corrections in such situation. So that is why what I would like to say, that we still have a lot of problems in economy sphere, as we have many women who are who can work, but they are not able to go for work because they have 1 or 2 children. So, and a state is really losing its budgeting in economy. So, for example, for me, that was a great results after our economical panel, I mean, with business, when we have heard how many businesses now providing, very simple but very good programs, not only for women, but for men also, like the schedule, working schedule, some like free days when they can work in at home. So there is so many instruments to give propositions and opportunities for women. But I mean, now we have, and what I see, that this movement, it's more and more like initiatives, programs, he for she. So there is a good now, how to say, speed of this, and we see the results, and we inspired of these results. But also I would like to say that this is a synergy. I mean, all these results, it's a synergy of politicians, our civil society, and our international partners. And that is why, when we have this common position, when we have this common beliefs, when we have this common ideology, it's much more better and faster to have results. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you very much. You already answered almost all my questions, which I thought about. But that's when you give the word to the politicians, and they will have a political speech.
No, it's not about politicians. It's because I mean, we have a lot of results and good things which what to share.
Yeah.
That is why.
But let's bring maybe the civil society in the round. Let's give the word to Olga. Maybe you might introduce yourself a little bit and clarify your position on this topic of women in the Ukrainian society in general, and also maybe some demands for politics in the future. What has to be done?
Thank you very much. First of all, thanks for inviting me here. There are 2 topics. I can talk forever. This is HIV/AIDS topic, so sex, drugs, that's my topic. And another topic is women. I can talk forever. Also, I'm very pleased to be in a panel with all women moderated by men. Normally, this is a woman who only have a, honor to ask question, and men answer questions because, so to make sure women don't say anything wrong, and men, This is a vice versa situation, which is a very nice one. I'm head of Lana Pinchuk Anti-AIDS Foundation, and I came from the sphere dominated by women. Charity in Ukraine and worldwide is dominated by women because it's underpaid. We don't have high salaries, meaning less men would come and want to work for charity. So in civil society, we can see more women. In medical area, we see more women. In schools where low-paid teachers, low-paid work, we always see more women. So I came from the sphere dominated by women, which is also not great. We would like to have a gender balance and to have more men in our sphere to work as hard as we work. Another reason why the area is dominated by women, and Masha already mentioned that, women can't tolerate injustice, and they just invest their resources, and doesn't matter how much they get in return, they invest their resources in fixing injustice. So that's why so many women are creating charities and fighting to change legislation or becoming civil activists. it's very well, it's a very women topic. So we started as a foundation that fighted against AIDS in Ukraine, and at a certain point we realized that whatever we do, if we don't focus on women, we are not very efficient. We need to invest resources in women because there is not enough services customized for women. Most of the services are customized for men, especially in HIV/AIDS. If you are a man, you can benefit from thousands of services. If you're a woman with a child, most probably want to get lots of resources, and the services are not for you. So we decided to plunge into this area and understand what's going on, and we realized a lot of things. We realized that women in this country are very strong, but they don't really believe in themselves. This is a very big problem of Ukrainian women. They underestimate their power. We did several researches, and we also gathered researches that were done by our partners and realized that the biggest problem of our women, even if we create amazing quotas tomorrow, we want to have enough women to fill the quotas because women don't really believe that they can do that. And we decided to concentrate our efforts on mentorship and providing great role models for Ukrainian women and Ukrainian girls, demonstrating that women in Ukraine can be successful. Not necessarily you have to be born with a silver spoon in your mouth. You can be successful even being born in a small city, and you can become a parliamentarian. And we started promoting the mentorship culture, and we are trying to build self-esteem of Ukrainian women, because Ukrainian women are very strong. Also, what we are trying to do, we are trying to create horizontal and vertical connection between women. Horizontal, it's building sisterhood society, when we can all, work with each other and help each other. And from my own experience and experience of my partners and women around, the more women on different positions in business, in parliament, in politics, everywhere, the easier for us to move on. It's just like it's a sisterhood in action, and we talk about that a lot. This is about horizontal connection, and we are trying to build vertical connection between women who reached success and those who are on the bottom of their career. So we want women who already made it, give a hand to those who are still making it, to help girls and those girls who are not successful yet to reach their most potential. And I think this is very, very important aspect for Ukraine, to provide more women on the top position. So that's what we are doing as a foundation, and to be honest, with each year it's easier and easier because the situation is changing, and it's changing really fast. And we can see the results. We have more women on top positions. We have more women in parliament, on different levels of government, and it makes the whole system work better.
Thank you very much. So let's bring the business perspective in. Tetyana, the floor is yours on this topic.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me for this great discussion. I guess it's important topic because, for instance, in our team, we have 0.5% of women and 0.5% of men in our team. Business Ombudsman Council was established in 2015, just after the Revolution of Dignity, as an answer from the international society and international, together with Ukrainian business, to the corruption. And so the main idea of establishment of Business Ombudsman Council is anti-corruption activity. However, we are working mostly with the illegal practices and mold practices and pressure from the state authorities and public authorities on businesses. And Business Ombudsman Council is a 3-person business ombudsman and his 2 deputies. And even on the deputies level, we divide it like on having gender balance, 1 man and 1 woman. From my professional point of view, we have many applications. from businesses, from big businesses and small businesses, from private entrepreneurs. We have more than 6,000 applications. And what I should mention to you that having communications with the top management of these businesses, I noticed that big businesses mostly represented by men top managers, but small and medium businesses are mostly represented by women and they are from regions mostly. And it gives me an idea that really Ukrainian economy, which is really not very good conditions, they should rely on women's efforts. And it's especially difficult with the situation when we have our traditional approach to the women role for family. Ukrainian is pretty conservative society where woman has a specific role. Mother, the person who should take care of children, the person who should take care about the house and run business. It's extremely difficult, and it means that we should help these women. And when I'm working on the more strategic things, because in our team I'm responsible for the economic block of government, I'm working on high level, especially focusing on economic issues like tax, customs issues, these environmental issues, all types of control bodies, communications, and working on resolving systemic problem in taxation, in different processes, licensing, etc. I'm always think about women and I understand them as a mother of two children, of two girls, by the way, as a woman, yes, as a wife. I fully understand how they are busy for their business, but I'm working to simplify their life. You see, it's very much motivates me to help them. Definitely, the ultimate results of my work help all businesses in Ukraine. But thinking about Ukrainian women very often helps a lot. And I also a coach for my younger colleagues. As I mentioned, we have half of our staff which are women, young professionals. And I could tell you that it's always interesting to monitor how they are communicating with our men. They are mostly lawyers and auditors. And all of them, I mean men and women in my staff, it's 32 investigators. They have the same level of education. Very often they have international education. They spend several years abroad. They spend mostly half of their career probably in a Big Four. So they all have the same high level of education and professionalism. But very often my girls, my inspectors, they are mostly focused on a case, but not on communicating and competing with men. And sometimes good ideas could be lost because they are more moderate, yes, in their expressions. And as their leader, I mean, on a top level, I always suggest to be more proactive. To do not keep their ideas with themselves, because we should resolve problems for certain business, it's not like competition in the school, it's a real life, and we should find the best solution for our clients. So, and it's always help, because we discussed a little bit with my colleagues before our event that very often we have the first model is our mother, yes, for us. It's a very natural, yes? And unfortunately, very often our mothers grew up in the very conservative Soviet society, post-Soviet society. And they definitely have different passion, yes, for their life. But in any case, they were all burdened with this Soviet and post-Soviet approach to role of women in their life. So that's why very often, especially for girls from regions, from not from the big cities, but smaller cities, we should help them to open their internal strong sides, because they do have it, and they really important part of our life. And finalizing my speech, I also would like to mention thinking about policy. We are trying to build and develop a democratic country. Yes, we are working on it hard. We have so many strong events in our history, and we shouldn't forget that women is an important part of this society, and we should spend efforts to help them to be a really equal part of the society and have the same rights and the same approach as men have in our country. This is an only way to make our life better from all types of meaning. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tetyana. Since this is a democracy studies center, and since democracy, in my view, is about dialogue, not only between leading persons, but also between the audience and the leaders here, I want to open the floor maybe for one or two questions which you might have. So, yeah, please address your question to whom it might be. Yeah.
Thank you, Niclas. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, dear speakers. Was very inspiring. As we all know, Finland nowadays is best example of how the government can have 5 different parties and all led by women. And what I've just right now looked up is the fact that in these countries, and also in Scandinavia and other countries, they have this so-called woman-owned business tax benefits. So businesses that are owned by women are having less taxation. And maybe I will address this question to Tetyana. If you see in which direction our taxation system could evolve in terms of maybe making this process of entrepreneurial, developing entrepreneurial skills among women to make it easier, so to say, from the policy side, i.e. producing some law that could eventually support us, women.
Thank you very much. It's an interesting question. I never thought about taxation like about the gender-based taxation. Yes, I never thought about it. Probably there is certain reasons to start thinking about it, but well, from taxation point of view, I would prefer to have the system where all equal, yes, for taxation. Yes, it's for me as a business, as a deputy business ombudsman, it's important that all types of businesses pay their taxes. This is more important, and it would be better discussion about business integrity, compliance, and all these type of things. As for the women in entrepreneurship, women in businesses, no. Definitely, you already mentioned, Mariia mentioned about the corporate governance, about the representation of women on boards, in boards and supervisory boards. It's important. I would vote for quotas for women. I guess it's important. I'm not sure that all candidates will be the best. I don't know. But in any case, we should have women on board, so men will do know that we are there. We are there, and we have our voice in a professional board. As for the small and medium businesses, I guess we should promote the initiatives women in business to be to be independent. When we're talking about entrepreneurship in general, we should focus on women because they're very creative very often, but they don't have enough skills about accounting, how to start business, how to communicate with partners, subcontractors, how to promote their business. I mean, these marketing skills, how to export. She exports now. We have this initiative. It's very good initiative. She exports. I even didn't know that we have so many women entrepreneurs in the area with export. So this type of thing should be promoted. And it's also important to have coaching, to promote the idea that women could be coaches for other women in their staff. Because I also never thought about this like sisterhood, yes? It's something from college, yes, something like that, yes. But in reality, it's true. It's true. Very often, women could understand each other much better. It's a professional discussion. It's not about like gender discussion. It's professional discussion. And we are all top managers, women. We do understand how difficult to be promoted for women on the higher level. We should show best results in tenths probably than men to be promoted. It's true. It's not very popular discussion about this seal, but it is. There is a seal. It's true. There is a seal, and we should help other women in businesses to break this seal. So as a conclusion, yes, let's think about these women in business from different sides. From the side of regulatory policy, let's think mostly about equal policy for all, but promoting the idea of women entrepreneurship. Thinking about the internal policy, like on micro level, it's mostly about coaching and quoting and coaching and career promotion for women. Special probably career paths, especially for big companies, it's important. Thinking about from personal side, we should understand that women are always understand other women in the best way. But in this case, we should build this networking and relationship. It's important. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Also, thank you for your question. Let me have one more statement from Olga because she wanted to reply to that, and then we have the question on the floor. Mariia also wanted to say something, but you might address Mariia.
I will add up to what Tetyana said. I don't think that women need preferences, especially in taxation. I think that all women need is equal rights. And all women need is investment in their education, what Tetyana already mentioned. And, the overall perception of society that business can be dominated by women and business can be a women thing. Because according to our study, we saw that majority of the Ukrainian society think that business can be only dominated by men and only men can be successful in business. From our experience when we did a very big incubators for women in business, all women who came to us, to study business, they ended up with social projects. And we were like, come on, we were about, to study how to do business. And they were like, we are women, we are about to change the world. It's so, inconvenient for women to make money. Women don't feel fine with making money. They think it's a male-dominated area to make money, and women are to change the world. So we need to change this perception. If you are talking about business, you can make money and change the world and do, social business, whatever. But, women don't feel okay with that. I think where we need more efforts and where we need to put more efforts is a payment gap that we have in Ukraine, not only in Ukraine, worldwide. When women and men are getting different payment for the same kind of job. And it's very difficult in Ukraine to do, the audit, even to start to do the gender payment audit. It's very difficult because a lot of payments are in gray, so it's hard to say whether women are getting less. But from what we know and from what we research, women are getting like 20% less compared to what men get. And I think this is a very important thing. So to sum up, we need more investment in women. We need more projects that help women to learn more about business. We don't need preference. We need equal rights and understanding from the society that women can be part of the business. And we want equal payment condition all over the industry for women and men.
Yeah.
Can I
Sure,
continue
please.
on that just because, not only for the sake of argument, but also because I really changed my mind on it. I think we do need, how do you say that, positive discrimination, and perhaps including gender-related tax issues. I come from a country which all of you probably think is very modern, very advanced. Let me tell you, the payment gap in Germany is still more than 20. It's 73 to 100, so it's 27% less. It's not because they earn less in the same job, it's because so many women work part-time in Germany in order to care for children. And also the question, we don't have gender-based tax in Germany, but we do still have, and I sometimes wonder if we're in the 21st century, we still have huge tax cuts for couples, for married couples, where one person does not work. Meaning we do not motivate people to have a family with children. We motivate a married couple where usually it's the woman, because of the payment gap, that earns less, for her not to work at all, and then they get huge tax cuts. This is something that I cannot understand in the 21st century. And perhaps just to finish on that with two figures, I didn't want to name them from the beginning, not to depress you. The number of women in Germany in supervisory boards of DAX-quoted companies is higher than ever before. It's 8.7%. This is nothing. And I am one of 20 female ambassadors out of 150. Our goal is to have 22%, not 50 women ambassadors, 22%. We blatantly fail every year. We're right now at not even 15% of female ambassadors. So there's a lot to be done, not only in Ukraine, also in Germany. And whatever you think about positive discrimination, so when I was 30, I was really against quotas. Now I'm 53, and I'm entirely in favor of quotas. When you have a quota, you need to look for women, you will find them, because they're there. We all know that, they're there, but you need to actively find them. And perhaps to finish, something that also was echoed here, what I think, sisterhood is a great word. We called it an informal women's network at the Foreign Ministry. That started to find the women that we needed in the places where we wanted to have them. So role models are very important, networks are important, but tax issues might be important too. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. So
Yeah,
actually,
just
Prof.
also-
Feldhusen, before giving you a word, I wanted to thank you. I was just thinking about if I really should, because about 15 years ago, I was actually writing my master's thesis about exactly this topic of taxation, and that is an indirect topic. So the question is, do we need direct benefits for women? Maybe not, but indirectly existing tax regimes might prefer or might not prefer women. If you want to know more about that, you can ask me tomorrow. I'm here, I can have a lecture on that. But anyway, now let's give the floor to Mariia on this.
Yeah, I just want to add that regarding preferential programs, it's about banking system more. And it's, for example, we started to talk also with our international partners regarding the centralization reform for joint communities, so as to make women more active and to have such preferential programs. And we also have heard that not only State Bank, for example, Ashat has been started such program, but also international banks, Agricole and others. So they have these programs. And it's not only for joint communities, it's also for IDPs. But it's, how to say, it has to be a system, because we have to have education, we have to have rare qualification, we really have to teach women. Because, for example, from 100%, we have 74% women educated well, but from this 74%, 44% women are not economically active. So it's about self-confidence. Ola is correct. And when we are talking that women has to have more, it's about professionals. It's not about gender. And we also, very good examples about the salary. Like when HR agency has some interviews, and a woman and a man with the same skills, but a man says that, you know, I would like to have $10,000. And women are saying that, you know, probably, I mean, I can have 8. I mean, that's about really confidence. And that is why it's not only a problem of men, it's a problem of women also. And to finalize, I can tell you that we really always are saying that we have to have competition on the skills, on the professionalism, not on gender. It's about security sector, it's about economic sector. The only what we have to correct, it's how to have the success, how to have this right and knowledges. That is why I can tell you that mass media, all civil society, only with such a team we can succeed. Because we, for example, only 2 years ago, as an Equal Opportunity Caucus, together with the Minister of Health Care, we changed one of the decree. And we changed the Soviet system because there were 450 forbidden professions for women in our country. So that is why we have to give this right to women. Or she can, or she cannot. It's her absolutely decision. Thank you.
There was one more question from the floor. Maybe you can also tell to whom this question is.
Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Natalia Malogolovko. I'm a fellow of Democracy Studies Center. And my question goes to Mariia Ionova. I'm part of the group which is working on a research which is on the topic Women in Focus. And we have some ideas and some suggestions on how to improve the situation for women with double load, with glass ceiling problems, such kind of gender problems. And when it will be ready, is there a possibility for us to share it with you, and maybe basing on this research we could maybe together develop some, I don't know, suggestions, some legislative suggestions in order to improve the general situation in our country?
Allow me to say not in a very diplomatic way, not a proposition, it's your obligations to give us work and to oblige us. As there is a problem, we are absolutely open for different propositions, because we really also working with the experts in different areas. So really you're very welcome, and we're very glad that you have such proposition, because telling the truth also, there is no initiatives. So we are very welcome such initiatives, and we will do our best to find decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I like to say that I also like always to be a little bit positive, because we have heard now many things which have to be still improved, and I totally agree on that. But maybe I can ask Her Excellency, Frau Feldhusen, you have been here the first time, I think, more or less 20 years ago, the second time, something like until 5 years ago, 3 years ago, and now you're here the third time. So there must have been lots of changes in the society from when you came. So maybe you can a little bit describe your feelings about the process which has been made already, and which we can like still continue then.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of progress, I have to say. I mean, in '94, Ukraine was a different country, really. And it even changed between 2010 and 2015. Masha already mentioned the caucus for equal opportunities that was then, in 2012, I think, started in the Verkhovna Rada. And I said, for those who were at the Women's Congress, I will repeat myself, but we had little lunches at my place, and in those times, all the women who were active in that caucus fit around my dining table perfectly, meaning there were not that many. Now, if I wanted to do the same, and I have a bigger dining table now in the residence, still, they wouldn't all fit. We would have to do it by subject, economy or some social issues, and that is a real good development. Masha named the figures of how many, how the representation in the parliament is now in terms of women. This is great progress, but I think it's even more important also in the government. There are lots of young, active women in the government now. They come from civil society here or from academia, and I think they deserve our wholehearted support because they will be the role models. So if they are successful, other women will believe that they can do it, speaking of self-confidence. So we have to support them, and since I am a woman ambassador, I really already started to make a point in meeting these ministers more often and trying to show support for the work that they're doing, because sometimes they are still in the soft issues like social affairs. But we also have a very tough finance minister here who is a woman. So there are things where you can start working very, very easily.
Yeah, thank you very much. A little bit, okay.
No, we were talking about policies, and Ola was mentioned about policies. It's about policy, because as you remember, gender policy was in the Ministry of Social Policy, where the pensions, where the subsidies. We have succeeded when we raised this topic to the level of Prime Minister. And that is why now each ministry has to have their own policy on gender issues. So, you know, it's a foundation. But when the institution will be strong with such policy, then, you know, it will go further. That is why, of course, institutional capacity and capability, and that is why we need such young people, you know, who will be without the stereotypes, who will, you know, for them it will be natural. And it will be ideology. Now we are in a trend, but we need ideology.
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe then I can give the word to first Tetyana and then Olga. Also asking, we have already heard from Frau Feldhusen that Germany might be also not the best example, definitely not. And coming from an institute which also did partly gender research, I also can confirm that from a scientific point of view. But what would you want from the international community to improve the role of women in business in Ukraine?
No, first of all, from international community, we try to find role model for us. Christine Lagarde, the new head of the European Commission. Yes, unfortunately, I forgot the name. Yes. New government of Finland. So we need examples. We need somebody to look at this. Angela Merkel, yes. Theresa May, we can count many of them. At the same time, Ukraine, as I mentioned from the very beginning, is very interesting society. I have like mixed feelings. From one point of view, very, very active, proactive, energetic, and so on. At the same time, for many things, we are pretty conservative. And we should have pressure, soft pressure, soft pressure from the international society on our government, politicians, civil activists, yes, to improving the situation with the women, with the position of women in our society. That's it. We should help civil activists through your assistance and through your education, capacity building in this field. And we should have like stronger pressure from political sides. That's it. We should put on the agenda this topic. This is important.
Okay, put it on the agenda. As I said, every new project, and which is good, we have to do gender studies first, also indirect effects, just as we said, with this taxation system. There might be some programs which also might be not directly targeted to women or men, but which also might distort these things. Thank you, Mariia. I hope to see you soon again. Thank you very much for your participation. Olga, your wish to the international community with regard to gender issues in the civil society.
Well, first of all, I want to say that Ukraine, everything is very interconnected now. We are not an island isolated from the rest of the world. Whatever happens in states with Me Too movement, with new trends, immediately affects Ukraine. All changes happening worldwide, we are part of that changes. More changes happening worldwide, more changes happen in Ukraine. Maybe with less impact, but still, we are part of very big global world today. What we need from international society, we need examples of how international business can integrate programs for women, and that's what we saw at the Women Congress, when big international companies implement gender-sensitive projects at their workplace. We need more examples like that so Ukrainian business can follow. We need more investment in women in terms of possibilities to get scholarships to study. That's very, very important. Access for women to great education and possibility to bring this knowledge back to Ukraine. And very important issue, access for women for financing. Women are very often don't have the same possibilities as men to access financing in terms of getting the credit from the bank system. Women ask for less. Very often investors don't give women money at all. They would prefer to give money to male-dominated companies. So we need role models, and we need an example, plus we need big international banking system to have that as a rule, that women have equal access to financing, to credits, just as male-dominated companies. So basically, to sum up, we need more movement on gender rights worldwide, and we will be affected by that. We need more investment in women in terms of education, and we need better access for women in terms of financing their businesses. That will definitely help us to move forward.
Yeah, thank you very much. We have maybe time for 2 more questions from the floor. Nobody? We have a group which is studying gender issues.
I would like, first of all, to thank you for such an inspiring speech. You mentioned, I think all of you mentioned a lot about how to teach young women and how to break the stereotypes in society. I'm wondering, what is your attitude to the idea teaching not only women, but also gentlemen, who are also a source of these stereotypes in society? And how do you see what is the most effective way to deal with not only young women, because, for instance, Olga, you mentioned mentorship. This can be one of the solutions to deal with women who lack confidence, self-confidence. But what is the way, for you, what is the most effective way to deal with men? And how to work with men, how to deal with men in order to break these stereotypes? Thank you.
I would say 2 things. First, we did a research last year, and the biggest insight of this research was that women has higher stereotypes towards themselves than men towards women. We were about to catch men on stereotyping women, and when we looked at the results, we were very much surprised to find out that very often man has less stereotypes towards women than women has towards themselves. That's number 1. Number 2, we always work with girls and boys. We are open. We never kick out boys out of the room when we discuss, women, gender equal things. But very important thing is not what we teach. how we act. You know, that's the most important thing. We already, all of us, learned how to say right things, but on the level of behavior, we are still the same. This is the biggest problem. Kids learn from their parents. Kids learn from their teachers. Teachers in Ukrainian school know how to say right things. They even have a right books already. But when the break comes, you know, they say, no, boys can run, girls should stay, boys cannot cry, girls, you know, can cry, and stuff like that. Because, you know, we know what to say in the right way, but we still need right examples how to act. On a behavioral level, we are still the same. So parents have to have to be a role model. Teachers have to be a role model, and we need to change ourselves, and that will transform our younger generation, like Generation Z, and the one that will follow. This is the most important thing from my point of view.
Maybe Tetyana?
I absolutely share the same ideas that were expressed by Olga, because yes, it's true, it's important. I don't have an experience teaching boy, yes, I mean in general, but I agree that that we should start from ourselves, from our behavior, and in this case, very important to think about these like core values. I mean. Family example, yes, family example, and we all have our parents. Most of us have own children and have neighbors, have nephews, and so on. We all could provide this example to other people. This is important. Yeah, agree.
Yeah, perhaps I can just add something to that. I'm a single mother of a 17-year-old boy. Two things. You're right. Schools are also a big setter of values. In Germany, primary school teachers are 99% women. And this I felt since I'm also a single mother. My boy was basically not confronted with male role models until he was in secondary school. This can also be a problem for other reasons, but it is also about equality in professions. I mean, I really believe in the fact that we should have 50-50 in male and female teachers in primary school, and I think in Ukraine it's mostly the same, not only in primary school, but to the very end. Another example that I have experienced here, I worked with a lot of highly qualified, very smart young women when I was here the last time. And in the end, when I left, they said, they also want children, but it's difficult because then they would have to leave the job, and they didn't want to do that. They wanted to work at the embassy. They loved their work. And I said, well, you know, don't let that not stop you, but do really tell your family, and it's about family pressure and, mainly, and society pressure. Tell them that you're going to work half a year later or a year later or so. Or set yourself a goal and stick to it. Because I have seen a lot of examples here of young, smart women who became mothers and then they were gone because their family said, no, you have to stay with the child, poor child. And I'm very happy that that one of these young women did have a child. I had to nudge a little bit from Germany. Yeah, after half a year, I said, are you going back to the embassy? After a year, I said, you have to go back to the embassy. And she did come back after a year and 2 months or so. But it is hard work to convince the family that that is a good thing. She is now the mother of a little boy. Her husband supports her, and the little boy will have a mother who has worked more or less for his whole thinking life. And that will be a role model also. He will see that it's possible for his mother to work and still be a loving mother. So it's everywhere, and it's in small circles, it's in the families, and we need to set role models really in all parts of our daily life.
Thank you very much. We have time for one quick question from the floor. Anybody else? No? Then, since I know that Excellency Prof. Feldhusen has to leave punctual, maybe I might ask you for a small final statement from your side.
Well, thank you once again for inviting me. Yeah, and let me finish with what I started. I'm here because the subject really interests me, not only because I'm a woman ambassador, but because of everything else I said. But I'm also here in my role as ambassador to show Ukraine that Germany supports it. And it's not only in those, high-level negotiations in Paris or elsewhere, which are extremely important, where Angela Merkel supported your president. It is every day, and that is what I'm looking forward to in the next 3 or 4 years, that I'm going to be here to be part of the Ukrainian society also, and to support Ukraine as my government does support your government. Thank you.
Tetyana, final statement, final words on this topic?
Thank you very much for inviting me. Yes, it's true. It's important not just for me, but for our office, because we would like to promote this idea, and we support definitely this idea. And I am very glad that so many young people here that could work and continue working on this issue. It's important for Ukrainian future and for us as your elder friends.
Well, first of all, I want to say that things are changing, and they are changing on a pretty fast pace, as already been mentioned before, in Ukraine, and I believe with such speed we can really have a tremendous differences. And again, what we need women to be, to trust in themselves. We need women to be ready to stand out. We need women to be ready to apply for scholarships, financing for great positions. That depends on women, and also we need women support women. The network of women giving hand to other girls already, who wants to reach something. And we already see that, all over Ukraine, and I think that, with this speed we can move forward. I think that's my final message, that not everything is so gloomy. It's quite positive, with more women in parliament, with more women in business every year. We just need to keep doing that, that's it. And all changes will come from us, I would rely on women on this issue.
Thank you very much, Deborah. I want to close this discussion with a few words from my side. I don't have the experience in Ukraine as Her Excellency, but I was here the first time in 2016, still as in university, and it was true that, and it is still true, that in the older generations I see many men also in the scientific system, but in the younger generations, those most active which I met were all women. So I think this thing is an ongoing topic for the society. Irina here is also is a woman, a very strong woman, who is organizing this center. So I have lots of hopes that Ukraine will go forward in this topic. Thank you very much.